Hey there, it's Gregson. Welcome back to Shifting Lanes. Today we're talking about the 2021 C8 Corvette and what you need to know about the most talked about sports car today before you buy it, research it, or compare it to others in its class. And even if you already own one or you're not in the market for a mid-engine vet, stick around and watch all the way to the end because there's some interesting information I found when researching for this video that you may have never known before. In this video, we'll be going over what to look for on the C8 Corvette. Things such as common issues on the current models, what's new for 2021 compared to the 2020 model year, any major service bulletins on the car, any major recalls, and overall reliability ratings. We here at Shifting Lanes have never actually driven the C8 before. However, my family owned a C5 for around 7 years. Chad is a huge Corvette fan, and Hanson wants to buy a C8. I've also combed through about 15 plus hours of research for this video. So, given that and our clear Corvette enthusiasm on this channel, I can come into this video confident that I can give you an accurate representation of the C8 as it stands and what to expect moving forward. But before we begin, I'd like to say that we do make tons of different videos here at Shifting Lanes, like new car reviews, other what to know videos, and should you buy consumer advice recommendations. If you'd like to see any of those I just mentioned, check the description below for playlists of everything we do, or click the card above for a hand-picked video for you. Now, before we get into the details on the 2021 Corvette, let's go through an overview of the 2020 model and how we got here to begin with. The Corvette is, by a wide margin, the greatest American sports car ever made. You can argue that others have been faster, rarer, or better, but none of that actually matters. The Corvette is an American institution and the benchmark for American sports car performance. It originated as a front-engine, rear-wheel drive car and kept that layout until 2020 when the C8 was released, which is the reason I'm making this video in the first place. The C8 is the first ever mid-engined Corvette after nearly 6 decades of speculation that this would happen. Seriously, automotive journals and speculators were talking about midship Corvettes since the late 1960s and into the 1970s. In fact, Chevrolet has been testing different Corvette platforms for this exact genesis of the Corvette for almost as long. In 1960, the Chevrolet Experimental Racing Vehicle, or CERV, number 1, was introduced as an experimental vehicle to showcase Chevy's dedication to understanding how cars behaved in real-world conditions. This continued with CERV 2 in 1964 to build on the data that CERV 1 gathered. But it wasn't until CERV 3 in 1986 that the mid-engine Corvette rumors really started to fly, because this one had a mid-mounted 5.7-liter LT5 V8 engine. They also strapped 2 turbos to it, giving it 650 horsepower, which didn't really hurt. Because of this, the mid-engine Corvette that was long rumored to be the quote-unquote Zora model was thought to be an inevitability. These rumors and development vehicles all culminated in CERV 4, which was when GM secretly asked TDM Inc. to build them a test car for the 1997 C5 Corvette. Because of the 1986 CERV 3 mid-engine layout, everyone thought that this was finally it. But, as we all know, it wasn't until 23 years later in 2020 that we actually got one, and now that it's here, it's the best performing stock Corvette ever. Currently, you have 3 different trims available for the 2020 Corvette, and going into 2021, these will stay the same for the non-special edition cars, which we'll get into shortly. These trims, being the 1LT, starting at $59,995, 2LT starting at $67,295, and 3LT for $71,945, with each increasing number getting different features, which are things like heated and auto-dimming wing mirrors, available carbon fiber interior trim, cargo nets, premium infotainment with navigation, different styles of bucket seats, and an available front lift kit with memory. You can also purchase the Z51 Performance Package, which gives you a plethora of upgrades for the almost $6,000 price tag, including bigger brakes, better cooling, better aerodynamics, revised suspension tuning, better tires, bigger brakes, an electronic limited slip differential, a bespoke traction management system, and 5 horsepower and 5 pound-feet of torque via a dual-mode exhaust. With all that said, what do we know about the 2021 Corvette and what will be different when compared to 2020. This part of the video may be a bit of speculation, but there's a lot that we can glean from what information is out there. With all the pandemic-related delays to the 2020 model year cars, the 2021 version should shape up to be an epic year. Production started in early December of 2020, and 2021 cars are currently out there, though they are few and far between because of the insane demand for them. For features, all of the above that I've already said holds true, but there are a few updates to mention. 2021 cars will get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, some new options for the digital gauges, a new transmission feature that won't let the car shift out of park until the driver puts their seatbelt on, and optional magnetorheological dampers on any model, which was previously only available as an option for the Z51 package. You can also get new racing stripes and a gray and yellow interior scheme if you so desire. But now on to the good stuff, because this is the real reason I'm making this video. The 2021 and beyond C8 Corvette is going to get some special treatment in the form of the tried and true performance models. These of course being the Z06, Grand Sport, ZR1, and maybe even a Zora model as well. I won't go into all of these individually in crazy depth because there's a lot to unpack via a leaked document from April of last year, but here's what we know so far. The Z06 will likely be a 2022 model coming out in the 2021 calendar year, and it will have an all-new 5.5 liter flat plane crank V8 similar to the engines that just won the 24 Hours of Daytona. This engine for the road car will likely make anywhere between 600 to 625 horsepower, but bank on it being more towards the 625 number, with just shy of 500 foot-pounds of torque. Unlike the C7 Z06, which needed a supercharger, the C8 Z06 will be naturally aspirated. Chevy is saving the boosted goodies for some other specials. The Z06 will be the most track-focused, so expect a ton of downforce via aerodynamic add-ons and a big old wing out the back. The Grand Sport will probably do the same thing the C7 did, with having the normal C8's 6.2 liter V8, maybe with a marginal 10 to 20 horsepower bump, but all of the Z06's aero goodies. Expect this out in 2023. The ZR1, likely out in 2024, will probably get everything the Z06 gets, but expect Chevy to boost it in some way. The most likely choice is a supercharger, just like all other ZR1s, and that should push the power past the 800 ponies region. Finally, the Zora will probably get a twin turbo package or hybrid powertrain of some kind that should push it past 1,000 horsepower, making it a bonkers hypercar to compete with the world's most elite cars. And actually, there may be one more that Chevy has up its sleeves, one that will probably stir the pot of the enthusiasts and the purists out there a little bit. That, of course, being the E-Ray hybrid or an all-out electric Corvette. I mean, GM literally just committed to an emissions-free vehicles lineup by 2035 and to be a carbon-neutral corporation by 2040. There is zero doubt that an EV Corvette is coming, but the only question left is when. In summary, for 2021, you get some upgrades and better tech, but 2022 is the real year the C8 starts to stretch its legs. If you've made the decision to purchase a C8 Corvette, the rest of this information should help you make an informed decision about the car itself. This isn't a video on how to negotiate pricing, but after this you should be armed with a bit more knowledge on potential trouble areas, which may help in many different purchase-related scenarios. First, let's talk about some common issues in the C8 lineup. CarComplaints.com has the top 3 trouble areas on the C8 as... well, this is awkward. They don't have any. It's because the 2020 Corvette is new enough that trusted sites like Car Complaints don't have enough information on it to consider big-time trouble areas. That isn't to say that there aren't some faults. Instead, let's check the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, for any active recalls. Given its extremely short history, there aren't many recalls for the 2020 Corvette. But if you dive deeper into the Corvette's history, you'll find that there are a few trouble years with lots more recalls. If you're interested in those years, you can find that information at nhtsa.gov. Usually with these videos, I would pick out 3 or 4 recalls to detail and show what to do to remedy them. But given that there are only 4 for the 2020 Vet, here's what they are at a glance. Sensor contamination in electronic brake boost. If communication with the sensor is interrupted, the electronic brake boost assist could be lost. Extra pedal force will be required to slow and stop the vehicle, increasing the risk of a crash. Seat belt retractor may not lock. In the event of a crash, if the driver's seat belt fails to lock, there is an increased risk of injury. Hood may inadvertently open. An unlatched hood can open when driving above a certain speed, obstructing the driver's view forward and increasing the risk of a crash. And finally, front trunk release may not work. If a person climbs into the front trunk compartment and closes the lid, they may be trapped inside, increasing the risk of injury. Now, these are all relatively simple recalls and are extremely easily remedied. Since this car is so new, if you own one, you likely have a factory warranty, so the best bet is just to bring it to the dealer and have the recall work done. If you are looking to purchase and the recall work hasn't been done, that's not necessarily a red flag, as the previous owner may not have done the recall work or not known about it. Just have the dealer do the recall work before you do buy, get it in writing, and you should be fine to move forward to the next step. You can find all of the recall information fully detailed on nhtsa.gov or one of many other sites like Consumer Reports or Car Complaints. This is all public information, and you should absolutely do this research before buying any vehicle. Now, on to the Technical Service Bulletins, or TSBs, for the Corvette. If you didn't know, a TSB is a communication from the manufacturer, like Chevrolet, that document recommended procedures for repairing vehicles, and they happen when there are several occurrences of an unanticipated problem. For example, if consumers keep reporting that their doors won't lock, and it's happening across many different shops or dealers, the manufacturer will look into it, and if there's a fix, issue a TSB so that if it happens again, the fix is easily understood and rectified. The manufacturer may also find fixes proactively and issue a TSB if the fix does not require a recall. For the C8, there are 265 TSBs listed on carcomplaints.com. However, it's important to remember that this isn't necessarily a standard for reliability. Almost all cars have dozens, if not hundreds, of TSBs for each year they are produced. So take this into consideration when doing your research. For the Corvette, I won't go into all of the TSBs they list because they get really into the weeds on how to fix things. But if you're more DIY inclined, it's worth poking around the TSBs should you find something wrong with your vehicle and want to fix it yourself. You may find a TSB with the fix you need and could save hundreds in repair costs with the right know-how. Lastly, the 2020 Corvette seems like it's one of the more reliable sports cars out there. There aren't a ton of recalls, and the faults with the newest Vette seem to be minor. This all while Chevy gave the best-known American sports car a brand new body, drivetrain layout, and platform. That's hugely impressive, but they did have 60 plus years with the original layout under their belts, so it's not entirely surprising. With all this said, do we recommend you still go in to buy or test drive the C8 Corvette if you don't own one? That answer is a huge yes. The C8 is a world beater with way more performance than the price suggests. And with all the special Vettes coming up in the next few years, the C8 will continue its assault on the wealthy, elite, super and hypercars. Looking for your best performance bang for your buck? The C8 Corvette may just be it. I hope this video does help you in making your buying decision a little bit easier or made you become a better informed owner. If you want to follow us outside of YouTube, you can find us at Shifting Lanes on Facebook and Instagram, where we post about the cars we review, our personal cars, and industry news and adventures. Again, my name is Gregson. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.